just done a video on how to improve your confidence when it comes to open water swimming. So if you're a beginner, maybe go check that video out. We'll make sure to link it. But if you're here to improve your pace when it comes to open water swimming, then this is the video for you, because we're going to be giving you our top tips on how to build speed outdoors. If you like this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more tips.
All of these tips are really going to help you go faster open water, but they're for everyone. Whether you're the world's fastest swimmer, you're leading out a Super League event, you're the fastest in the arena games, or it's your first or second triathlon and you want to improve, these are relevant to everyone.
One of the biggest benefits with the Form goggles is their stroke metric that is shown in real time when you swim in the pool and in open water. Your stroke rate is the cadence of your arms, which is a great controller of pace and energy output while you swim. Think of your stroke rate like your RPM on your bike. It is a great metric to help you control your power output when biking indoors and outdoors. By understanding your stroke rates for different paces in the pool, you can then translate that to the open water to better control your pace in that environment.
The thing with stroke rate is everyone has a different stroke rate. You need to find that sweet spot where you're efficient, fast and comfortable, and you can hold for the whole length of your swim, whether it's 750 meters, 1.5, 1.9 or even the full 3.8 kilometers.
So I guess there's no right or wrong stroke rate to aim for. It's all subjective to you because people are different lengths and things like that.
Absolutely. How long your arms are, this type of style of swim stroke you have, all affects your stroke rate. But the great thing, or the hard thing is when you're swimming open water, you can't count your strokes per time, per distance, because you have to look at your watch. But with the Form goggles, it actually gives you a live stroke rate per minute as you're swimming. So the first thing I would recommend is get in open water and play around with it. Do a choppy stroke, really, really fast, then do a long gliding stroke, and you can see that change. And then you can see the efficiency from one point A to point B, and you'll find that sweet spot so you roughly know open water what is your race pace stroke rate.
Is it worth us finding out our pool stroke rate before we transition to open water?
Absolutely, but one thing you must remember is your pool stroke rate will be different to your open water stroke rate, most likely because of the variable conditions. The current, the chop, the wind, putting on a wetsuit, you might change your stroke a little bit. There are all these variables that might come in, but it is great to know your stroke rate in the pool as well as open water. And this, the Form goggle, does it all for you.
Yeah, I had no idea what my stroke rate was before I started using the Form goggles, and now I'm really intrigued to see every time I swim, or like you said, I'm changing my environment. If it's windy, there's a current, checking my stroke rate and how it differs is really interesting and helping me work on that speed.
So another great tip for swimming faster open water is drafting. Just like cycling, it makes a massive difference to swim behind someone, to get close to their feet or on their hip, either to the right or to the left of them.
Yeah, I was absolutely amazed how different it felt when I managed to get on your feet. My stroke rate was the same, but I was exerting so much less energy and going so much quicker. And I think there's a real skill to learning how to get on someone's feet, because it's taken me a while to get there, lots of practicing in a group environment, but I can't believe how much time I've probably wasted where I could have made up a lot of time in races had I felt comfortable and confident to get on someone's feet.
In a triathlon, we want to swim as fast but as efficiently as possible to save energy for the bike and the run. So if you're an efficient drafter, and again, we go back to train to race, you've got to practice it. So the more practice you can get on the feet, finding that sweet spot, the better. One thing you've got to be careful is when you're on the feet, you don't want to switch off, because that person might not be swimming in a straight line. And that brings us nicely to sighting.
Yes, sighting is definitely, there's a skill to it, and I think you've got some good drills that you'd mentioned earlier to help with that in open water, but I'm not the best at it. I can't lie, I've definitely found myself in the weeds or adding way longer, and especially now that I can track my distance open water with the goggles, I can see what is supposed to be a lap distance and how much extra I seem to manage to add on by going off course.
But that's brilliant, Emily, because you can swim quicker with less physical effort just by training a skill by swimming in a straight line. So often people that don't swim straight, they have the biggest advantage to really home in and nail this drill. A great drill I like is when you're swimming open water, you have 2 buoys about 30 to 50 meters apart, maybe even longer. You swim 50 strokes without sighting, and you try and swim in a straight line. When you look up, you'll probably be to the right, to the left. Then mentally, you know you're veering one way or the other. You then come back and do the same thing again, but focusing on swimming in a straight line. You will improve. And again, when you're racing, if you know you always veer to the right, maybe you start on the left of the start, so you're not gonna go into the middle, or you need to consciously click on that and swim in a straight line.
Pacing in the open water can be a bit of a challenge due to variables like the unpredictable conditions of the water, your wetsuit, which can add a bit more resistance to your arm stroke, and finally the lack of breaks that you get from training compared to in a pool environment. With the foam goggles, you can more accurately control your pace by using metrics like your stroke rate. If you know what your stroke rate is for specific paces in the pool, you can then use that to control your pace more effectively when it comes to open water. Another added bonus to help pace in open water is the ability to connect certain Garmin or smartwatches in order to Bluetooth your GPS data from your watch to the goggles. This will give your pace, distance, heart rate, and time to enable you to track your swim more accurately.
We always get a bit overexcited when we first get in the water. We have the pre-race adrenaline, the nerves, and I always go out far too hard, find myself halfway around absolutely exhausted. So these have been key for me for that, to really have a more consistent pace from start to finish. And also I'm aware of what my pace, my limits are, so not going over that to start with, and actually just having, like I said, a nice consistent swim and pace to finish. So I get onto the bike feeling fresh, but also still knowing I've pushed myself.
And I think the great thing with this is you've got to practice this in swimming. So with your target pace, you can do reps at that pace, and you can even play around with it, going out fast and then coming back a lot slower, and then seeing that you're burning too many matches, you're wasting energy for swimming the same time. So it's really important to pace evenly in a race, and to have live race metrics is just amazing.
And to be able to see it in front of you without having to check your watch, or if you're in a pool, check the clock. It's just so much more efficient. Another tip specifically around getting faster in a race is going into it prepared for what I like to call the washing machine of people. A mass start with tons of swimmers around you, it can be quite daunting, and it can really throw you off your swim, your confidence, your pace, everything. So it's about going into that prepared for what is about to come.
Often your breathing goes, and we can be talking experienced triathletes. If they get into that shock environment, in that melee, as you said, the washing machine, the hustle and the bustle, turning the buoys is always another point where you've got to kind of take a breath and go round. You kind of really need to get ready to anticipate that. And I think training in bigger groups, and not just swimming around leisurely, swim a bit tighter than you want to, get the elbows out a little bit, but don't stop at the buoy and then start again. Actually practice swimming in the group round the buoys. You want to train to race, so you need to then practice that. And I've seen so many people, lose the feet, as we talked about, which has a massive advantage early on because it becomes a bit too frantic for them. So definitely you need to practice swimming in large groups with the hustle and bustle, so when it comes to the race, it is service as normal.
Another one that I'm really guilty of is turning up having not properly looked at the swim course, where I'm going, and that can waste a lot of time and also just adds another level of stress when you're swimming and you don't actually know where you're going or where the sun's coming up or which way the current's going. Preparation is key.
Absolutely. So many times I've been walking to the start and I've heard people saying, "Where's the first swim, boy? How many? Is it a big lap, then a small lap?" And I'm thinking, are you guys crazy?
That's me.
Yeah, you might not know the bike course if it's a full distance of 180 kilometres because it's a long way. But when the swim is so short, the day before, when you're racking your bike, when you're registering, go and look at the swim. Look at maybe it's 3 sighting buoys before the red turn buoy. Know that it's a big lap and a small lap. that. Know that, oh, the wind's blowing this way and I breathe that way, so I need to start that side. If it's a river swim, look at the current. If it's a sea swim, look at the tide. If you've got that old dolphin dive to get in, it might be shallower on the left than on the right. All of these things are going to help you swim faster. And again, we're not talking hours of training is needed for this. This is just a quick 30 minutes. I tell you what, I often ask the lifeguard. In Malibu, you see the swimmers that come out first in Super League chatting to the local lifeguards, knowing where the current is, and all of these small things have a big, big difference. So I recommend that as a tip to swim faster.
We hope you found that video useful and it's given you some top tips on how to improve your speed in open water swimming that'll be useful for your next race, and we'd love to know how you get on. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and we'll see you on our next video.